You're listening to the Canadian Destroyer Wrestling Podcast with your host, the Oatmeal Hero on YouTube.
And welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of the Canadian Destroyer Wrestling Podcast. I am your host, the Oatmeal Hero. And yeah, it's been a long time since I've done this thing. I've been out adulting. I haven't had really too much time to do what I needed to do. I missed the draft. I missed the first SmackDown pay-per-view and other pay-per-views as well too. But let's just see what brings us on this road to podcastism as I bring the results of the Raw exclusive pay-per-view known as Hell in a Cell. So the pay-per-view did kick off with a Hell in a Cell match featuring Roman Reigns during the United States Championship and the challenger Rusev. This match was really good. Lana wasn't out there yelling as she was. It's a shame because Rusev could have really used the help. In the end, Rusev put the accolade on Roman Reigns using a steel chain to go through his mouth, or like Roman Reigns was biting on it and shit, and it still couldn't hold the big dog down as he powered out through it and ended up spearing Rusev off of the steel steps. Y'all know it's not steel, it's freaking aluminum for Christ's sakes, to get the pinfall victory over Rusev. In a women's match, we did have Bayley versus Dana Brooke, which is no surprise that Bayley did hook up Dana Brooke to the two, oh my god, brain fart, hello, where Bayley put Dana Brooke in the Bayley to belly and got the 3 count. Now let's see what's in store for Dana Brooke for the next pay-per-view, and let's see what's in store for Bayley later in the future. There's really nothing to talk about. It was a really straightforward match. I'm pretty sure y'all seen it on Raw anyway. With the aid of the Magic Killer, Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson did pick up the pinfall victory over Big Cass and Enzo Amore. Now we've seen that the club, quote unquote, is back on track and refocused. Let's see if they can actually pick up a World Tag Team Championship victory very soon in the near future. Hopefully for Survivor Series in Toronto, because that would be great. But then the New Day wouldn't really surpass Demolition's record of 470 something days. On a lighter note, the New Day did get disqualified and still retained their WWE Tag Team Championship over Cesaro and Sheamus with the interference of Kofi Kingston. Didn't really see that coming, but I knew they were going to stretch it out some way, somehow for the New Day to actually hold on to their championship. So like I said, let's see what happens later on down the road, on the road to 470 plus days to surpass Demolition's Tag Team title reign record. The Universal Championship match had a little bit of a slow start between Seth Rollins and your boy Kevin Owens, but it gradually picked up and became the match of the night. You actually did have Seth Rollins throw Kevin Owens through 2 tables, but with the aid of Jericho and locking himself into that Hell in a Cell to help his best friend. They picked up, I had to say they because really it was a team effort. They picked up the victory over Seth Rollins. What's in store next for Seth Rollins? I highly doubt he's probably going to get another title shot. If he does, he's a very lucky man. Maybe they should actually now have Jericho face Kevin Owens for the Universal Championship. Let's see what happens. Good old cruiserweights, you can always count on them. So the champion TJ Perkins versus the Brian Kendrick. Now, for those who don't know, these two actually have a really historic history between them, a history that goes at least 13 years deep. So, concluding at the end of the match there, it looked like Kendrick did look like he did twist his ankle or injured his leg trying to go for sliced bread, and TJ Perkins, being the gentleman that he is, showed a little bit of compassion. He wasn't too sure, just to get tricked by the Brian Kendrick, headbutted him and then setting him up for the captain's hook, aka the bully choke, and TJ Perkins was forced to tap, which means you have a brand new cruiserweight champion, the Brian Kendrick. I think Brian Kendrick will make the perfect cruiserweight champion. It was just a matter of time before they're actually going to let him win the belt. It was just that, you know what, after the Cruiserweight Classic, the hype of it, like I said, Brian Kendrick did put a lot of effort into, but a lot of people were still shocked, and still, I'm not going to say shocked, but we were impressed by the way how TJ Perkins was wrestling in there. We were actually impressed with a lot of the guys in the Cruiserweight Classic, but you know what, I did have to admit, as much as I don't want to because I'm a Kota Ibushi guy, that Perkins did stand out a little bit more than Kendrick. But this is Kendrick's first title reign in over a decade, so let's see how this guy plays out. The final match of the night, the third Hell in a Cell match, was between Charlotte and hometown girl Sasha Banks. Now Charlotte did get a quick attack on Sasha while the cage was lowering, and this led to Sasha being rolled out of the arena due to a back injury because she was powerbombed through the announcer table, and she ended up going back in the cell to beat the holy hell out of Charlotte when they were about to announce Charlotte as the champion. So this did go back and forth. This did make history, ladies and gentlemen. This was actually a really good match. I really want to see what's going to happen with this rivalry. This rivalry can definitely go on forever and ever and ever and ever and ever and ever and ever. But at the end of it all, it was your queen Charlotte who came out the victor. I think she was supposed to put Sasha through the table, but the table never broke, but Sasha was still injured, and she put natural selection on her and got the 3 count. I still thought that was a really weird ending. I don't think it was supposed to end like that. So there you have it, my friends. The 2016 edition of the Hell in the Cell. 3 Hell in the Cell matches. 3 Hell in the Cell matches that were very good. Really good pay-per-view overall. In next month, we have Survivor Series, which is emitting here from the great town of Toronto. You have NXT TakeOver. I think it's called NXT TakeOver Toronto. I thought, but they put the Canadian flag, whatever. It's in Toronto, right? So we got 3 good nights of wrestling in Toronto. We have NXT TakeOver Toronto on a Saturday. We have we don't have NXT on Sunday. Stupid ass me. We have Survivor Series in Toronto. We have Monday Night Raw in Toronto, and we have SmackDown, which is emanating from Ottawa. This is going to be really interesting to see what matches they're going to throw together in the next 3 weeks to make this a blockbuster event and pay-per-view. We already seen one major match being made between Goldberg and Brock. Let's see what happens in the next 3 weeks. Let's see if this is going to be a really good 30th anniversary of the Survivor Series pay-per-view. Well, that seems to be about it here. This is your boy, the Canadian Destroyer, and remember, everything else is just a sunset flip powerbomb. Canadian Destroyer Wrestling Podcast.
You're listening to the Canadian Destroyer Wrestling Podcast with your host, the Oatmeal Hero on YouTube.